They are the lifeblood of our planet. One of the most vital habitats on Earth. Without them, we would be lost. These are stories of rivers and the heroes who work to protect them. Restore them and drive change. Come, join the movement.
Individuals can make huge change when we come together.
Welcome to the Rivers Are Life inaugural Heralding the Heroes, celebrating our river heroes and looking ahead in 2023. I'm Chris Kiefer, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. 2022 was an incredible year for Rivers Are Life. We premiered 5 amazing films that featured river heroes in 3 countries and tackled our first of 1,000 projects with Keepers of the North. Our first 5 films and their clips had 31.9 million views. We grew our social following to just under 20,000 in the first year, and our audience has been excited and eager to join the movement. We are here today to celebrate you, the river heroes, out there making a difference in our communities. Part of the Rivers Are Life initiative is growing a network of passionate people that are creating change, and we're excited to connect you to each other. Some of you have already teamed up, and for some, this is your first time meeting. But all of you are making ripples in river sustainability. So let's get started with who is on this call. Clint Wilson and Francesca Troutman from Voices from the Water. Fred Tutman from the River Keeper. Chris Pallister from Keepers of the North. And Natalie Lassalon from Natalie's Deep Dive. Also joining today are some up-and-coming river heroes, Rafael Caniwante of El Rio Es Familia, Jenny Kempf and Gary Swick from Watershed Warriors, and our youngest river hero, Cash Daniels. So first up, I'd like to introduce Clint Wilson. He is a professor in civil and environmental engineering and director at Louisiana State University Center for River Studies, and one of our river heroes featured in Voices of the Water. Clint, welcome.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
Everything's great, thank you.
That is fantastic. We're so excited that LSU Center for River Studies has come on as official partner of Rivers Are Life, and we're looking forward to continuing the work together and seeing what is happening with your team. What does this mean for LSU?
Well, I think it first off, I'm very humbled by, I think, the group that is, on this video call with us, and the amazing work they're doing. But, I think it helps highlight, I think, a lot of the work that not just, our group is doing, or we're doing at the Center for River Studies, but also really a lot of the great environmental, river, hydrology, coastal work being done at LSU and at other universities across the state.
So what are some of the concepts that you've been studying that are kind of areas of interest?
Yeah, so, we talk about Rivers Are Life, and one of the we kind of have 2 primary messages here at the Center for River Studies. And the first is for people who visit, and we've had, upwards of 20,000 people in the last couple of years come visit. And we talk to them about, and we try to demonstrate to them how the Mississippi River built so much of our coast, how it built so much of the habitat, the path, an important stop for migratory birds. And so we do that in a way that really, demonstrates, and I hope, and educates people about the power of the river and how that river built, so much of our coast. And then, but also how that river is vitally important for the economy. right? And, I think we saw that last October, November timeframe, right? When the river was so low that a lot of the agricultural community almost came to a standstill. And so, we have these trade-offs between, this incredible habitat and fisheries and vegetation, ecosystems that are wonderful. But, we also realize the importance of the river for the economy. And, so then once we get that part of it, I guess, get that part across to our visitors and people who come here, we, then talk about what we're trying to do to maintain, restore a lot of those ecosystems that have been severely impacted because we engineered the river for navigation to keep people safe. And so, it's that idea of, we had a very wide open, I'm going to say somewhat wild river several hundred years ago. We went into very much control mode. I say control mode. We never really can control the river, but that's a word that was used 100 years ago. But we've gone very much into a management mode now for navigation and flood risk reduction. But we need to, in essence, let the river run wild to a certain extent so that we can restore a lot of that habitat, those fisheries, and really provide somewhat of a buffer from storms that hit the Gulf of Mexico on a pretty regular basis.
Well, you bring up some incredible points, Clint, and I know that we're super proud to kind of officially talk about you being a partner. I think it's going to bring a lot of benefit to Rivers Are Life, but also to other river heroes as well. So thank you so much for being a partner in this. And we're gonna jump just to someone that you collaborate with real quick. So stick around because we're gonna bring you back here in just a second. In continuing conversations with river heroes that are in Voices from the Water, I'd like to introduce Francesca Troutman. She is the co-founder and CEO of Glass Half Full, NOLA, a New Orleans-based organization that recycles glass into sand for disaster relief and coastal restoration. Fran, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I heard that your facility is expanding. You guys have really been, the press, you're out and about, you're all over the place. It's really incredible to see some of the things that are happening for you. What are some keystone projects that you're working on right now?
Yeah, a big part of what we do at Glass Half Full is figuring out how we can utilize glass sand for coastal restoration. We do that in partnership with research institutions like Clint at LSU, as well as Tulane and other institutions. And so some big projects we're working on. I was just out in Bayou Bienvenue yesterday working on a coastal restoration project. We also partner with the Pointe de Chien Indian tribe, as well as other, key areas of restoration we need to focus on in Louisiana.
That is incredible, and a really unique story. And what Rivers of Life is really about is bringing together river heroes for change. And as river heroes who were connected through Voices from the Water, and you have since teamed up with Clint. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you guys are collaborating on between Clint and Fran? What are you guys working on?
Sure. So like I said, Glass Half Full is, a startup. Our goal is to recycle glass and then turn it into sand to be able to use for coastal restoration. But we're not researchers, scientists, and engineers. And so we need those people to help us accomplish our goals. And so Clint, being at LSU, being in the River Coastal Center there, helps us a lot to be able to partner with researchers as well as actually students who are interested in, helping Louisiana fight coastal erosion. So it's been awesome to be able to partner there on that research.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick if you want. And just, I think, Glass Half Full, I think, is a perfect example of that start, what can one or two people do and watch it grow, right? And I think it's, an incredible opportunity we have. As Fran mentioned, we had I'm not sure if she said this, but we had a high school student last summer do some research on kind of the properties of some of those glass sands so that we can, as an engineer, right, we can better understand how we can use those different, gradations, different sizes of sand in different locations to be an effective, coastal restoration or, projects.
That is absolutely amazing. And like you said, Clint, that is some of the things that are happening here with our river heroes. both of your organizations, the first one to really come together and collaborate, and it was incredible to see what's happening from that. And we're hoping that with the partnership at LSU, we're going to continue that with more River Heroes and continuing to partner. That's exactly what we're trying to do here. So thank you both absolutely so much. We can't wait to stay informed with everything that you have going on. And so appreciate both of you so much. So. All right, we'll come back to you guys in just a minute here, but also featured in Voices from the Water, please welcome Mr. Fred Tutman. Fred is the founder of the Patuxent Riverkeeper, and he has a varied career in media, civic advocacy, law, and education, and we are happy to have him here today. Fred, how are you?
I'm good. Excited to be here. Thanks.
Oh, we appreciate you coming on and joining us today. You founded the Patuxent Riverkeeper almost 20 years ago. What kind of shifts have you seen in that time? And have you seen any since participating in Rivers Are Life at all?
Well, the shifts I've seen is much more intense interest from people about activism related to the river, which is kind of our wheelhouse. We really want to empower communities to fight their own fights because we think those are durable movements. So yeah, people are much more polarized, much more interested in the watery stuff that we talk about, much more engaged. It's all good. It's all good stuff, I think. I mean, it's not enough. These rivers are definitely still in trouble, but it's a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, we're seeing that with our younger generation, obviously getting involved. People and kids like Cash, who we introduced earlier. So since getting involved and participating in Rivers Are Life, have you had any kind of opportunities, or is there things that you're looking forward to in the future with the Patuxent Riverkeeper that you can kind of give us a heads up on, or what to look forward to?
We're deeply invested in environmental justice work because we actually think that most of the issues that face these rivers are disparity problems. People, haves versus have-nots, people struggling with public health issues and problems. We are struggling, I think, to create a much more diverse and inclusive movement because we think we need as many people at the table as we can possibly get. So I think those are all kind of positive trends in the work we do. The good news is we have a great subject matter to talk about. People are really captivated by rivers. That's why they write love songs about them, right?
Exactly. Well, they are the lifeblood of our planet, as we like to say, and so you're right, it is extremely important. So we thank you again for everything that you're doing and being part of our River Hero program at Rivers Are Life. So thank you so much, Fred. We really appreciate it. We'll come back to you as well. And as we continue down the line, we were going to have Dennis Mabasa. They couldn't make it today. They were they're a little bit on the West Coast time, but we know that Dennis is the Chief Operating Officer of Friends of the LA River, which is FOLAR. And FOLAR is committed to building a river movement and a team that is diverse as the community that surrounds the LA River, that builds equity and has future leaders that advocate for nature. So we did want to say thank you to Dennis. They're out in LA right now. We know they're dealing with some flooding in the LA River, so we wish them all the best, and we're hoping to get them on next time. So moving up the coast all the way to Alaska. This is something I'm familiar with. Chris Pallister, the president of Gulf of Alaska Keeper. As the continent's largest marine debris cleanup organization, GoAK has removed 3 million pounds of debris over 1,500 miles of Alaska coastline. Chris is our river hero in Keepers of the North. Chris, good morning.
Good morning from the cold and dark north.
I know it's a good morning up there. You're in Alaska and it's dark out still, so it's pretty early there. So what time is it on your side?
What is it, a little after 5?
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate you joining. You have such an incredible program, so thank you so much. Gulf of Alaska Keepers and your cleanup efforts are epic. And what are some solutions that everyday person can implement that would lead to a large impact? What are some of those solutions that you can share with us up there in Alaska?
Well, we're kind of interested in the fact that we don't have a very large population base. So volunteerism is a major thing up here, and we have a lot of people help us with our cleanups, but it doesn't even begin to address the scale of the problem. So we have found that it's much more beneficial as far as the impact of our cleanups to get more collaborators, and we're talking about industry and government groups. and bigger cleanups drive down the cost of cleanups. So individuals by themselves with a bag on the beach can make an impact, but it's not nearly enough. So that's what we're trying to do, expand our projects with the help of industry and government agencies.
Well, and with Keepers of the North, we had, with the help of yourself and your organization, there were some incredible partners that came together for that particular cleanup. And do you have more of those in mind moving forward? Is there the need for more support that's out there from collaborative, like-minded advocates like we had for Keepers of the North?
Yes, and just to go through that list of collaborators, we had Pixera Global in there, we had Dow, the Lines to End Plastic Waste. I'm going to leave out people here too, but and FedEx and CRDC. And so we had a very wide spectrum of industry helping us. And we are now working with Tote Maritime on projects. That's been an ongoing thing for years, but we're constantly trying to expand that. And one thing we're going to attempt to do now is build up an endowment fund so we can work off of an endowment instead of having to rely on grants, because it's very difficult to do these huge projects because you don't know what your funding is going to be year to year, and it's hard to keep on crew and maintain equipment stuff. So to give this thing the longevity that it's going to need, because this marine debris plastic problem is not going away in the foreseeable future, we need to have sustainable funding. So we need to keep expanding out with everybody that can possibly help.
Well, hopefully with Rivers Are Life and bringing awareness to what you're doing up there, I know the film was an absolute hit. It's been seen a lot of times around the world, and we're hoping to continue to bring partners. What I love about the Keepers of the North is that it's progress over perfection. We're continuing to do this project. We're going to stay on track. It's an evolving thing. It's not just one cleanup and done. There's a lot of things that are happening, behind the scenes with other companies as well. So it's an incredible project, and we're just so happy to be a proud of it.
Thank you.
And
we appreciate all your help.
And thank you. As someone that has spent a ton of time in the remote areas of Alaska, I know exactly how hard it is to do what you're doing up there in Alaska. So we are very, very proud to be a part of your organization. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll be back to you in just a second as well. And finally, what we have is Natalie Lassalon. Natalie is a speaker, a photojournalist, explorer, and award-winning underwater filmmaker. Natalie, thank you so much for being here today. You were one of our first river heroes, and your story was one of our first Rivers Are Life films. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me today.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be a part of the project, and being in Montreal, in Canada, it's always a little bit different how things are working here than compared to the US. And with the effort of all the volunteers, we can work together to have a better state of the St. Lawrence River, which is so important for the community here.
So you have an impressive film slate, Natalie. I mean, you've produced and directed 12 documentaries. Why do you think that it's important to tell these stories from an underwater perspective?
Well, as an underwater explorer, I always consider myself as a witness, because I can see with my own eyes 70% of the planet that if you don't go underwater, you won't see. And so, it's always the same thing. The things that you don't see, you may think that they do not exist, but in fact, they do. So by bringing back images and stories from the underwater world, then we can raise awareness towards what is the most important for me right now is the source of our tap water, of our drinking water. So that's why not only doing the underwater film work and documentaries, but also taking people together to empower them to do something for their own living environment. So sometimes, and that's why I did the project of the Urban Water Odyssey in my hometown, just because, it's always fun to go in some amazing ocean places so far away, but what can you do for the place where you live, on which you can have a huge impact? And that's why we started to do all the cleanups in the St. Lawrence River with the helps of the scuba diver, the volunteers, and the support of all the citizens, the people we have around us to help us clean the shore and the river.
Well, it's incredible what you do, being underwater, filming, capturing, and you're thinking about things completely different, which is why we wanted to have you involved with our River Hero program, and obviously as one of our first Rivers Are Life films. And so it's just exciting stuff that you're doing up there, incredible, and we commend you for telling the story underwater. It's a completely different perspective, but one that I think really needs to be told. So thank you again, Natalie.
Thanks for that.
All right, so, and not only thank you to Natalie, but thank you to all of our River Heroes. We loved hearing what's happening with all of you, and we hope, just like Clint and Fran, that this will spark some serious future projects and connections. So we are building Rivers Are Life together, so we want you to know that, and what you find interesting and how Rivers Are Life has helped your cause. So we want to know that. So we're gonna kind of talk through this a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit of a rapid fire, round robin kind of questionnaire. So I will start to ask some questions, and maybe just kind of give me the hand wave and I'll pick on you a little bit. That way we don't get too confused. But let's start with this first question. What else would you like to see from Rivers Are Life? What's some things that you'd like to see from us as Rivers Are Life? Anybody want to start that one out? Go ahead, Fred.
So I feel like this effort has really unpacked some of the Zen behind this work. We're not just talking about science here. We're talking about the connection that people have and that activists have to these rivers. And I think that's very, very exciting, because it's a side of this stuff that's very compelling. I think it really pulls people in, particularly when you've got high quality photography and good production values. That actually matters, in terms of drawing people's attention to the things that we work on and the things that that we want to share. So I think it's very connective work, is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you very much. That's great insight, Fred. How about anybody else? Anything else they'd like to see from us at Rivers Are Life? Yeah, go ahead, Clint.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think coming as a professor at a university, but also as a director of a center where we have a huge number of middle school, high school students come through in general public. I think getting our students to think more about how they communicate, or getting our mass communication students thinking about how do they better tell a story about some important work that, coastal ecologists are doing or the river keepers are doing, et cetera, right? So, I think that's one of the things that's really exciting to me is the opportunity we're going to have over the next several years to engage students from the Manship School of Mass Communication, from the Department of Renewable Natural Resources, from coastal ecology, from sociology, right? To think about how people perceive things so that the mass comm students perhaps can think about how to better tell those stories, how to better translate the science or the work into a way that, produces, I think as Fred kind of says, makes people want to take action.
That's a fantastic viewpoint as well, and that's part of the things that we love to do at Rivers of Life is tell that story, tell it in a different manner. Fred, as you said, high quality and continuing to bring awareness to that. So we're definitely aligned on that front. How about let's move on to another question here is, how has Rivers Are Life helped tell the story of your organization? And have we done that? Have we helped tell that story? And does anybody want to take the lead on that one, maybe? How about Fran? I'll pick on you, Fran, for a second. Rivers Are Life, has it helped tell that story of your organization when you watch your film?
Absolutely. I think as an organization that is really active in communications, especially through social media like TikTok and Instagram, it tells an entirely different story when you have a production team behind you and literally calling you a hero. I don't think I would ever do that in any of my own videos. And so it's been a really cool like perspective to watch. It almost makes me like tear up every time I watch it. I'm like, wow, I really look like a hero in the way that they tell the story and show what we're doing. So it's been incredible to watch that and also get the feedback on that.
Well, thank you. That again, amazing. Your story was amazing, so it wasn't very hard to make it look that way, just based on all the amazing work that you're doing. So, Chris, how about you? Yeah, go ahead. I see you got your hand up.
I'm an old goat, so I'm really crappy with social media, and I just don't want to do it. So this has been really great for us because it's gotten a message out to a very wide base, and it's amazing to me how many contacts it's already given us. And because you guys are so good at this kind of thing, and I know you're reaching out to the general public, I hope you also have a focus on getting this clear message that you guys are able to develop to policymakers, because that's really what's going to change this all in the long run.
Well, you bring up a good point, Chris, and I think actually Keepers of the North was a good example of that. It actually made it up to the governor and to some of the people there in Alaska that are overseeing that body, and ended up, again, in Washington, and people talking about it, and the awareness came from Keepers of the North. So I definitely think it's a different way of reaching policymakers. And it's not necessarily a direct phone call, but it's an interesting story. And when you can pull the heartstrings a little bit, people start to care. I think they start to watch a little bit differently than they would previous. So you bring up a great point on the policymakers, Chris, and that is a goal of ours, is to hopefully get that in front of everyone there to continue to adjust those policies. So great point. Natalie, how about you? Anything there from your story or anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think that the documentary, the film that followed the work we're doing was excellently made, and working with the team was really amazing. And what I really appreciate is the fact that on that specific day where we were filming, we had 3 generations of people working with me, and that film showed that whoever you are, what is your background doesn't matter, because any single person can do something for their living environment, for the water and for the rivers. So it was really nicely done, and it helps tell the story, and to have a point of view outside of the organization is always good, because we don't always portray ourselves in the way that the others will do. So it was a really nice work and an amazing experience.
Well, coming from a documentarian like yourself, those are kind words, and it was easy to do as well. I mean, I think just with the story that you're telling, and I think just capturing it, again, as we spoke earlier about the underwater side of things, is just, it's amazing, and it adds so much. I think that it's forgotten about sometimes with all the stories that are above water. So it's really cool to see everybody telling that story. So thank you for that. So let's go around a little bit and talk about what the focus is for everybody for 2023 upcoming as we continue to grow and as Rivers Are Life continues to expand to more river heroes. Maybe we'll start with you, Clint, on just some of the things that you're focused on for 2023. I know I'm throwing you on the spot there, but if that's all right, maybe you can just give us a little bit of info what's happening.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things. I think we're working on expanding some more of our, let's say, hands-on experiences here at the center, and we're getting ready to install a new kind of stream table where, unlike our physical model, students will be able to get on there and see why rivers meander, see how vegetation impacts that, how the sediment moves. And what's really neat about this, and Fran and I haven't talked about this yet, is we would be able to use some of our the sediment we use for our physical model, the experiments we're doing. We're going to be able to use actual river sand, and then we'll also be able to use some of the glass sand that Fran and them have, right? To also not just get people to get the students and other visitors to see how similar the glass sand is to river sand and our coastal sand, right? But then obviously to have an opportunity for them to learn more about glass half full and the work that's being done. So I think the second thing is, and I won't go on too much longer, but I'm going on sabbatical this coming fall, and so going to have an opportunity to go to let's say some rivers in Australia, the Mekong area. I'll be we were supposed to go up to Alaska, actually, up to the Copper River, but I think that trip maybe get postponed. And then so we're going to get an opportunity this fall to investigate, see some other rivers, and maybe first off talk about a lot of the work we're doing here, and I'll have that be able to promote Rivers Are Life through that, as well as learn a lot more about systems that are very similar to ours and also that are very different, and bring that information back to LSU and the students, et cetera, and hope it makes our communications, our story better.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be a fun trip, especially, taking a sabbatical, taking some time. And then I love that you're continuing to stay on rivers, even as you take a sabbatical. So that's great to see that the passion is there. Again, we're extremely proud to be a partner, official partner with LSU. And we want all the River Heroes to reach out if they have questions, whether it be research. I know I'm looking forward to coming down and visiting the facility and just seeing that entire model that you have there. It's just mind-blowing. I can't wait to get there and see it. And again, we encourage all of our River Heroes to reach out to you and through Rivers Are Life so that we can put together, much like Fran, and the things that are happening with Glass Half Full. So Fran, I too have started a lot of things with a bottle of wine, as I know that you have, you did. So most of my great ideas have come from that path as well. So tell us about any more bottles of wine and some great ideas coming for 2023, other than working with Clint?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you definitely have to go see the river model. It is incredible. Pictures don't do it justice. But yeah, we have a lot going on for 2023. In addition to our coastal restoration work, obviously we recycle glass on the front end of our processes, and the entire state of Louisiana does not have glass recycling. And so the goal is really to expand throughout the state to ensure that everyone has access to glass recycling, and then we can turn more glass into sand to then be able to use for coastal projects. And so really the name of the game this year is scaling up and growing as much as we can to make as big of an impact in the sustainability space in this state as we can.
Amazing work. Thank you so much, Fran. Fred, how about you? What's on the list for 2023 and some expansion or some things you'd like to see, or what are you working on?
After 20 years of doing this work, I feel like we've really carved out a niche that's very valuable in this work for this river that has a movement to protect water that goes long before we started back to the 50s. So we think of ourselves as trying to keep the pilot light on. But while the organization has matured, the work staff has gotten old. We're all old people now. We're really trying very hard to pull in as many younger folks to carry this work forward, because it would be a shame to see it lost, because of our mortal limitations. As much as we have young people involved, we need leadership. And so we're working very hard on mentoring leadership. We've started a mentoring camp in the summers where we actually literally take young people out and show them, help them, assist them in acquiring and building skills that they need in order to protect their water. Well, that's a big priority for us.
That's a fantastic idea, continuing to kind of mentor. I love that you're kind of investing in that for the future generations. So amazing stuff. So thank you again, Fred. Mr. Pallister, how are things going forward with Go AK up in Alaska? What's some of 2023 goals? I know that you tend to set some lofty ones, so I'd love to hear what you're doing.
Well, I'm in Fred's shoes, I think, in that I feel like I'm starting to time out on this, and I need to get some young blood to take over, because this is really an all-consuming effort. And in the summer we go from March until end of September, and it's 14, 16-hour days every day of the week, and it takes young blood to do that. So that's one thing I'm really focusing on. I'm trying to get my boys to totally take over this thing so I don't have to work so hard anymore. But we have a primary goal right now of trying to clean Montague Island, which is a 50-mile-long island that's just absolutely covered with plastic. There's as much as 30 tons of plastic per mile on that shoreline, so you can imagine the volume there. And we've been working away at it for years, so we're trying to scale that up. I mean, we're lucky if we can get a few miles a year of it done. And on that outer coast with the convolutions, they're 74 miles of extremely dirty coastline. So that's one thing we're really focusing on, trying to scale up to get to that.
Well, and your scale up is not exactly easy scale up with the helicopters, the boats, the things that are needed to get there. And so, there's just so much that goes into it. And then finding crew, I can imagine, to say, yes, I'd love to go spend that amount of time on a boat to go do this and then come back. So again, to your point earlier about just that younger generation and the time that's spent on each cleanup in Alaska is monumental.
Yeah, and it's extremely challenging physically and logistically, and it's a dangerous environment to work. So we just can't throw out green volunteers out there. So we have what we call as a professional crew that have been doing this for years, many, many years. And then we also bring in volunteers to work with them, but not as many as we used to in the past because we're so far out now. We're over 100 miles from any community and in a very rough environment. And our crews stay out there 30 days at a time, then they come back for a week break. One time they stayed out for 57 days straight and they were ready to kill each other by the time they got back. So we had to shorten up those stints for them. But yeah, it's a tough job. There's no question about it.
Yes, I can definitely relate to that. The longest I've stayed out in Alaska is 62 days. With my brother, I don't recommend that either. So that's a very long time with the brother. So,
Right.
Well, yeah, that's a long time. So I'm glad to see those are shortening.
Yeah, and and these guys that have been working for us forever, they're getting families and stuff too, and they can't be away that much anymore, and I don't blame them. So we're always looking for really highly competent outdoorsmen and women, men and women, and we have a great core group. There's no question about that, but we're always looking for more people.
Well, thank you so much. And again, Keepers of the North was super successful from a film launch perspective and also from the messaging. So we're excited to continue that story and follow along as more and more things happen within policy in Alaska and all the amazing stuff that's fallen out of that. So again, thank you so much, Chris. Natalie, how about you? What is coming up for 2023? What are some cool things that are happening? Any more underwater cleanups happening or films or documentaries that you're working on currently?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our next cleanup. Well, right now we don't clean up the river because we still have some ice on the river. But in a month, in a little bit more than a month, we're gonna have a huge cleanup with a school. So we're gonna have like 250 kids from a school. It's gonna be the second year they're coming with us. So they're gonna clean the shore while we have divers diving and cleaning the rivers. In Montreal, it's really challenging because it's not like blue and warm waters. It's murky, brown, greenish water. It's not sexy at all to be there, but I'm really good to have my divers come back, the volunteers come back, because for them, they belong to the action, and it's really what we want to work on more this year and try to have more fundings to be able to do more and more cleanups and to one day be able to see to say that part of the river is now clean. We get rid of the plastic, the tires, the pollution that we can see. So it's a huge effort. We have to dig in the sediments, but we're getting there. So it's a keep on work that we need to do every year. But lucky enough, we don't find too many new debris and garbage. It's more old garbage. So it's really positive because each time we're doing those cleanups and we can talk to the people who just walk by, we can raise that awareness towards the river. So it's what we're going to keep on doing.
Well, that's incredible. I think you bring up a great point, and that's amazing stats to say that a lot of the stuff you're finding is older stuff, which means that, some of this awareness and the people that are actually out there, they're starting to care a little bit more. You're not finding some new stuff. I know it's happening, but not to the extent that it was. So finding that stuff underwater, it's just such a different perspective. And that's a great stat to understand. And then you mentioned kids, getting the kids involved. It's incredible to hear all of you who have done such great advocacy work, just getting the youth involved. And that is the next generation, the next phase of how we continue to do this. And so you're going to put a cleanup effort on. Is that obviously the St. Lawrence River is frozen? I would imagine, Ray. There's probably more hockey happening than diving up there right now. But when does that kind of thaw out? What's the plans? What time frame is that for that organization's cleanup up there?
Well, we're going to start the cleanups in mid-April with a really small team, and then we keep on doing the cleanups until September, October, depending of the location. The challenge we have, in fact, is that part of the year we cannot go clean up the river because it's freezing, and another part of the year there's too much boating, like like traffic marine, or just people just go there boating, kayaking. So because of the traffic, the marine traffic, it can be a challenge on the safety point of view. So it's always the thin line of finding the good timing, having all the safety around the divers, just to make sure that we can safely clean the place. But we have the support of the community, some nautical security organization. But we're going to start the minute it's not too cold and too frozen on the surface. Within a month, we're going to start doing the cleanups again. Yeah.
So you're walking that fine line between when people are getting their boats out and when they're putting their boats away, as well as the weather and everything that plays into that. So I could see how that could be a task. So again, appreciate all of your hard work, and thank you all for telling us a little bit about what's happening in 2023. And thank you again to all the river heroes. Without you, there would be no Rivers Our Life. There just would not be. So we invite you to stay active on our social media channels. And keep us posted with all of your upcoming events and activities. We're always looking for projects, and there might be a way that we can partner together again as we continue to move forward. So please keep us posted on that. And this year we have a lot of exciting stories to tell. We're spanning the globe, and we're featuring more incredible river heroes. Here's a sneak peek at our two films, Watershed Warriors and El Rio es Familia.
Friends of Fox River is a water quality nonprofit that is devoted to protecting the Fox River and its watershed.
If everybody was a TV repair person, then we'd be pretty limited in what we could do, because you can't eat TVs.
We nurture and protect things that we care about.
So what is the first step in inspiring people to care?
El río Cochihuás es algo muy hermoso.
Un lugar totalmente limpio, sano.
Las amenazas más grandes que tiene el río Cochihuás son las intervenciones mineras a gran escala. Impactan directamente la calidad del agua.
Sería el fin del valle.
Cuando supimos que hubieron intenciones de acceder a este territorio, eso activó una alarma inmediata que había que hacer algo.